What's up, friends? Welcome into Rock Chalk Sports here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Our technical director is Elijah Schmidt, assisted by Tyler Brewer today. Alongside Dan Courtwright, I am Sean Kellerman. We are here in the Kansas Nation studio. We did not have a meeting in Kansas City on this Wednesday.
We did not.
We were over at the Kansas Football Complex as, do I have something on my shirt? Yeah, what is that?
You have a string on your shirt.
We had some press conferences earlier today, so we heard from a couple KU coaches. In fact, Associate Head Coach and Offensive Coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, as well as Director of Strength and Conditioning Matt Gildersleeve. We're going to get into this here in the opening segment, but I left the press conference today, Dan, feeling like KU's going 11-1 this year.
Oh my God! Well,
right?
you hear both of those guys talking, you're just filled with energy. I mean, it's like somebody just like shot adrenaline straight into my arm. That's both
what it
those
was.
Guys just.
And again, they're just giving the stats, and they're going to speak highly of their players as coaches should. But man, they got me pumped up because a lot of good things to say about a lot of our guys.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And Gildersleeve does an excellent job in terms of running the weights and conditioning program and getting these guys whipped into shape for this upcoming year. And Kotelnicki obviously coming back and hearing the way that he talks about these skill position guys and the offensive line and everything around there. I mean, it's so easy for those guys to talk me. And again, I can very easily talk myself into 12 wins. They can probably do it better because I'm just like, man, I'm all in. Like whatever those guys are saying, like give me some of that.
Yeah, it was high energy in there. And again, we're going to have more coverage throughout the week on Rock Chalk Sports. But today you are going to hear from Coach K, the Associate Head Coach, Offensive Coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki. Went about 26, 27 minutes, so we're going to break that into two separate parts for you. Part one will be after Greenstein joins the show, and then part two will be a little bit later in the show. We're going to hear from Coach Gildersleeve tomorrow, and then later in the week also we're going to hear from Defensive Coordinator DK McDonald and select safeties. And then next week, all sorts of stuff. We got quarterbacks. We've got basically every position group you could ask for. They're going to be providing for us. So excited for that. Plus, we'll talk to all the coaches as well as fall camp is underway. Day 2 of Kansas football fall camp. We are excited for that. All right, next segment, we are indeed bringing on the California kid, Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com and the Lawrence Journal-World. I don't really know where to start with him. We'll probably start with today's press conferences, but a lot going on. We got KU soccer, their exhibition game coming up this Saturday. Our Trey Myers is going to be out there covering KU soccer as they take on Iowa. We have KU volleyball, some things in the news regarding them, and certainly basketball. There's a lot of chatter about that as well. So excited to talk to Greenstein here in the Kansas Nation studio. We'll hear from Coach K part 1, and then in between part 1 and part 2, we're going to squeeze in a KU Mailbag segment. Dan, what's on tap for that?
Get a lot of good stuff. KU Najee, as always, sending in a will this guy have more or less than this, and then also a little
love
trivia
a good Jayhawk of old, man.
Dude,
that's great.
KU Najee, keep him coming, man. I know he listens to the show usually. Keep him coming.
That's probably my favorite of all the questions because you get to actually talk about this year's team, but you also get to relive the Andrew Parchments of the world.
Right.
I mean, Andrew Parchment
Don't
as a
we
Jayhawk.
We always love reliving the Andrew Parchment era of KU football.
Yes.
No, and it's great because it actually gives you kind of a one-on-one comparison. You're like, oh, yeah, all right, maybe my expectations are a little higher or maybe a little lower for this guy. So, those are always fun as well. Luke has a nice one about tarantulas or federal prison. Tyler has one about Texas Roadhouse rolls that I'm really excited to get into. So, a lot of good stuff. And there's a fantasy football question in here.
Any chance Tyler is bringing by some Texas Roadhouse rolls? Cinnamon butter? Do we know?
I don't know. You didn't bring any home with you?
Oh, man.
It wasn't
it's
his.
Tyler
he
Brewer.
didn't pay for
Oh
him.
man, Tyler Brewer asking about Texas Roadhouse rolls.
Rip.
You know what? We should make that happen at some point. You know what I like from Roadhouse are the ribs. It seems weird because I'm like a Kansas City barbecue snob, but I really like the ribs at Texas Roadhouse. I don't so much love the burgers there, and I'm not a huge steak guy, which I know is kind of weird. But I love the ribs at Texas Roadhouse.
So this is a weird thing that I honestly get more often than not is like that grilled chicken. It's like lime. Is it like cilantro lime chicken or something like that?
I don't know. Caitlin gets the chicken with the mushrooms and the fresh vegetables and all that. Which, if I were a better person, I would do that as well.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, she goes with the veggies.
I gotta look this up. It's a grilled chicken that I always get, and it's so delicious every single time. My gosh, this is going to bother the hell out of me.
That's a really healthy choice for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like the cactus blossom as well. The rattlesnake bites, those are very good.
Herb-crusted chicken. Herb-crusted chicken is so good. I know you go to Texas Roadhouse to get the steaks and the ribs and the sides and the rolls and all that, but get the herb crusted chicken. Just trust me. It's so good.
It's just a great fine dining experience. When you go to Roadhouse, you get the rolls, and then you get an appetizer. If there's potato skins on a menu, I'm getting the potato skins. But then, fried pickles, a favorite of both you and me.
You're barking up the right tree,
Cactus
sister.
blossom, man. I mean, any of that. And then the entree comes out, and you get the sides, and it's great stuff. So, Texas Roadhouse, shout out. Let us know if you want to advertise. We got Andy Kotelnicki Part 2 following that, and then we are going to move on to Week 14 of our Kansas City Football Chiefs opponent outlook as we preview the Cincinnati Football Bengals. Cincinnati, they continue to, I think, still believe that they're in the window of winning a Super Bowl. Of course, they lost the Super Bowl to Matt Stafford and the Rams a few years back and have dealt with a lot of injuries, and they've had some divas in that facility as well. Zach Taylor still has a job. I mean, I don't know how that is possible, and I get it, but to me, there's a little bit of a Sean McDermott feel there where, okay, McDermott got there and has so many talented players, and a little bit of Calipari too, like John Calipari type thing,
actually,
where you have consistently a good team, but you haven't been cutting down the nets. And
Calipari
Taylor
won, but it was like Taylor at least got there. I think that's giving him a little bit more leeway. But at the same time, the Eagles fired Doug Peterson like 2 or 3 years after he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I feel like this city of Cincinnati is so starved for success that they're still hanging their hats on 2021 as like, well, hey, Zach Taylor at least got us to a Super Bowl, so I think they're giving him a little bit more leeway than Sean McDermott, who never made it to a Super Bowl.
A lot of injuries too, so we'll give him that. But Zach Taylor, point is he's on the hot seat, no doubt.
Yeah.
All right, but before we get into Kansas football chatter here in the opening segment, I want to tell you about Crown Automotive. Dan, they are over in your neck of the woods. They've got a great selection. New and used vehicles, Toyotas, Volkswagen, that's the place to be.
Yeah, Toyotas and Volkswagens, they have a whole line of new and used vehicles as well. Tiguan's, Tauses, Jettas, Camrys, Corollas, RAV4s, Tacoma Tundras, you name it, they've got it. Those aren't your jam. They have a whole line of used cars as well. They have those VW electric buses, which are just so freaking cool. We're maybe going to be in the market for a new car relatively soon because the car that I'm driving right now is my wife's old car. It's like a 2012 Honda Civic. And that old bucket of bolts is not going to take me very far anymore.
Get your Wichita back.
Be looking at Crown Automotive. Well, I'm looking at a truck. I'm looking at like maybe a Toyota Tacoma or something. So I don't know. I'll check over at Crown Automotive because they're super friendly sales staff. Like I said, just incredible people over there, and it's all run by the Lawrence Citizen of the Year in 2025. So you know they're not just going to give you the runaround. They're not going to give you some rigmarole. Did I use that right?
I have no idea.
Rigmarole?
I can't say I've used that word.
They're trustworthy, friendliest sales staff in the tri-state area. So go check them out, crownautomotive.com or crownmotorsvw.com.
All right, Kansas football. Again, we got to hear from Coach Kotelnicki and from Matt Gildersleeve today. Dan, I want you to start with maybe one thing that Coach K said, and then I've got one thing I want to bring up from Coach Sleeve. But Kotelnicki, he comes in with energy. The first thing, and you'll see this when we play Coach K shortly, the Gatorade cans. Completely agree with him. He came in with a Gatorade aluminum can, actually two of them, one fruit punch, one orange. And the first thing he says is, man, Gatorade, shout out to them. They've got to continue bringing this back. He wants more flavors than just the fruit punch, the orange, and the lemon lime.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he said, aside from glass bottles, this is as good as it's going to go. That's just the type of relatability that he brings because he comes in and we get into all sorts of football stuff that you're going to hear here on Rock Chalk Sports, but it's so easy to talk to. It, like, in a moment, makes everybody more comfortable in the room because it's clear that it's not a chore for him to talk to us. He's excited to talk to us about football. But, yeah, just so relatable. And, again, can't say enough about how happy we are that he's back.
Absolutely. I mean, I've said this a number of different times, but he's just the kind of guy you want to grab a beer with. You know what I mean? Just a regular old football guy. Just talk a little ball knowledge with him. And, he is a lot of fun. I mean, he talked about it in the second part of the press conference. It was towards the end where he was asked about the stadium. He was like, dude, it's awesome. He says the top 10 facility. He wants to go and buy a suite and go drink beers and smoke cigars in those suites because of how cool they are. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. He is just a lot of fun. But then, him breaking down a lot of the different stuff and his different coaching philosophies and things like that, and breaking down kind of how you determine different curriculums is actually the word that he used in terms of teaching the younger guys who are brand new, don't know anything about the system, essentially coming from high school, which is, compared to college, relatively elementary in terms of like all the way that these football programs run their styles of offense, in terms of changing the curriculums for them and be like, all right, well, Cam Pickett, like he knows what to expect. So we're going to give him a little bit more and judge him differently than we are going to maybe like a freshman who's coming in just learning this for the first time. And he said, it all comes down to teaching, right? And I think that you can tell he's such a good teacher, and he commands a room. Everyone wants to listen to him, and I can only imagine he would be such an easy guy to listen to whenever he is trying to teach you these kinds of things, and he'll kind of walk you through it because he's so knowledgeable and he's so detail oriented when it comes to his offense that he wants everybody to be able to understand it. Because look, you can be as creative as you want. You can have all the different pre-snap formations or motions or whatever, right? But if your guys aren't retaining it, you're not going to be able to execute on that creativity or that style of offense, right? So you have to kind of walk them through it sometimes. And that's not saying that these guys are like stupid and they don't understand it, but it's just the fact of like, that's what good teachers do. They make sure that you understand exactly what's going on. They give you all the information that you need in a great way that you're able to retain the information to go out and execute the style of offense that he wants to run. And I thought it was really cool, him kind of breaking that down too. It's just fascinating to hear him talk. And I mean, you can just tell, is there a guy in this world who loves his job more than Andy Kotelnicki?
It's great. And how awesome is it that he decided to come back? Because again, it wasn't a foregone conclusion by any stretch that Coach K was going to come back. He had high major offers to go run the offense for programs that are seen in a better football light than Kansas, that have had more historical success than Kansas. But he had so much success here. He loved his time here so much that he decided to come back after 2 seasons at Penn State, which were pretty successful, by the way, in terms of offense. And yeah, so very, very happy that he's back. And again, one thing that he brings forth, and I think this is important for any teacher or coach, when he comes in, there's not a lot of looking down. There's not a lot of mumbling. There's not a lot of being set. He is the guy.
Yes.
He comes in. He is confident no matter what your question is, even if he's going to answer with, a type of a tone that doesn't exude confidence. He still exudes confidence. I mean, no matter what, he's out there and you feel good. And again, how do you think the players feel about that? Because if Coach K is coming in, and yeah, it helps that he has the background that he has and has had the success that he has, but he comes in and he's, completely exuding confidence. That's going to make these guys think, okay, not only does this guy know what he's doing, but also now I'm confident because his confidence is shedding on me. So, yeah, love that from Coach K. And then Coach Sleeve as well. We're going to get into him, and I want you to talk about this too because we'll hear from him on tomorrow's show. He gave a lot of numbers, and he said he printed it off because he didn't want to forget anything. He didn't want to give any numbers that were inaccurate. I'm just going to give a few things that he brought forth because he was asked a lot of questions, as you would expect, about team and individual speed, team and individual strength. Okay, in terms of putting on muscle, Leroy Harris is 20 pounds heavier, he said, than he was last year. Dylan Edwards, about 15 pounds heavier than he was last year. Jabril Alamin, he came in the spring, transferred over from Marshall. He's 20 pounds heavier than he was just in the spring. Nick McMillan, who came over, he's 16 pounds heavier than when he got here. That is big. And then you talk about team speed. I love this stat. It was maybe my favorite thing, at least from a football standpoint, at the press conference today. 3 guys last year on the team for Kansas could run 22-plus miles per hour. This year, 11 guys can run 22-plus miles per hour. Even more impressive, last year, 15 guys could run 21-plus miles per hour. This year, 39 guys can run 21-plus miles per hour. Something that Coach Sleeve is doing is working, and he said, yeah, a lot of it is development, but a lot of it is the guys they're getting in the portal. KU is bringing in talented guys, strong guys, fast guys that are going to, relate to better overall football players. So, yeah, I mean, that's just a few tangible things that fans, I think, want to hear because it's not just, we're stronger, we're faster. He's got the numbers. And again, from his time at Akron to his time at Buffalo to his time here, Coach Sleeve continues to improve programs. And again, he kind of exudes that same amount of confidence, the same amount of relatability that Coach K does.
Yeah, and I don't like comparing my time in college football to now because A, it was different, and B, lower level, and C, I was way worse than everybody. But it's very hard to get everybody on the same page when you're a strength and conditioning coordinator like Gildersleeve is. And he's done such a good job in terms of, and I think this is probably something that they recruit as well, is moldability and buy-in factor from these guys. Like, these guys can come in and just kind of be like, whatever, go through the motions, go through their workouts, not try to get tangibly better, not try to get tangibly stronger or faster or whatever. But you can see that all these guys are buying in, and having a good strength and conditioning program and having this level of success in terms of reaching these goals and getting substantially faster and substantially stronger and substantially bigger, even from last year, right, is such an impressive feat that all these guys are buying in and saying, hey, I want to become the best football player I could possibly be. What's the first step of doing that? And that goes to tell you that all these guys are taking the spring and taking the summer incredibly seriously. A lot of these guys, they could just wind up taking the summer off and like, oh, whatever, I guess I'll just go through the motions and not really try that hard, and maybe I'll just lounge around the pool all day. But these guys are taking this stuff seriously, and I think you can see that based on these tangible numbers that you can see and go, wow, 3 guys last year were over 22 miles an hour. Now you got 11. That's just unbelievable. 15 guys were over 21 miles an hour. 39 guys now. I mean, it's just astronomical, the difference in just the physicality of this entire team as a whole has done under Coach Gildersleeve.
Yeah, Coach Sleeve, again, we're going to hear from tomorrow on Rock Chalk Sports, so make sure that you're tuned in because he has a lot of numbers like this that he goes through. You're going to want to hear regarding the improvement individually for these KU players in terms of strength, in terms of speed. Leroy Harris, he said, he went on a nice little rant about Leroy, and you and I don't need to be convinced. We are thinking Leroy is going to be one of the best edge rushers in the country from everything that he does.
Well, you said he's gained 20 pounds, but he's also gotten like 2 miles per hour faster.
And also, he went from 238 when he got here to 272. I don't know if you remember, but we did a show at Maselli's last year. It would have been the summer. I think it was the Lawrence Business Magazine, their Foundation Awards. And that was the same day that Kansas brought in from the portal this UT Chattanooga transfer. He's an edge rusher. We don't know a lot about him, named Leroy Harris.
That's
and
right.
Who would have thought that, 5 months later, we would have been looking back at the season thinking he was one of our best players. And now here we are prepping for another season thinking he's definitely one of our best players. He could be an all-conference type player. And again, he's just a freak athlete because of his ability to not only be strong and get a little bit of a push, but also he is fast. He's a good tackler. He batted down passes and kicks last year. So excited for him. And also Blake Harrell, a guy that Coach Sleeve brought up. He's one of the stronger guys that we've had. I think Coach Sleeve said since they've been here. And Blake Harrell, 295, 300. He has that strength that surpasses even some of the good interior defensive linemen we've had in the past.
Yeah, he said physiology doesn't make sense because when guys get bigger, usually that means they get slower. But these guys, that just goes to show you that some of these guys are just freaks of nature, right? And we're seeing that out of Leroy Harris. We're seeing that out of Blake Harrell. Specifically, these guys on the defensive line, you really like to hear the improvements that they're making in their bodies and their speed and different things because, again, this is something that we've continued to harp on, the fact that there wasn't enough pressure on quarterbacks last year for Kansas and their defense, right? You didn't get the turnovers you wanted. That was more of a secondary thing. But in terms of pressure, in terms of third down, in terms of, flushing quarterbacks out of the pocket, Kansas didn't do really a good job of doing that. And now you're seeing these guys only get bigger, faster, and stronger, and you're seeing the on-field work as well where, they're going to be that much better. And, we talked about it yesterday about how much of a jump that this defense is going to be able to take, and now you're seeing tangible evidence of that. Just the fact of their body styles and now the explosiveness factor. That's something that he talked about as well, like getting guys more explosive too, faster, stronger, bigger, and more explosive. That's what all of these guys, you look up and down the line, every single, at least impact player for Kansas has gotten bigger, faster, stronger, and more explosive, which only means they're going to be better all-around football players.
Yeah, and speed and strength doesn't necessarily mean more wins. But when you add everything together, you're more likely to make plays. You're more likely to chase down a runner. Those plays matter. And again, in Kansas football, where there have been so many one-possession games the past couple seasons, you want to believe that all that stuff makes a difference. And Coach Sleeve was asked about that. He said, was anything in particular evident that made you think, okay, we need to go get guys, we need to change the way we're developing guys or whatever, we just need to improve in that element from last year? And he said the main thing was you looked at a guy like Emmanuel Henderson, who did have that elite level speed, and the thinking was, okay, that's fantastic, but we don't really have that in other spots. Yeah. So getting a roster up and down full of guys who are stronger, are faster, that's important. And so excited to hear Coach Sleeve in full. Again, you'll have that tomorrow. We're going to hear two parts of Andy Kotelnicki. Did want to shout out Keaton Kubeka also. He was a guy that I think when we did our classic 3 Things segment the other day, you brought up Keaton Kubeka. He had a nice catch today at the indoor practice facility, and a guy that we haven't talked about a ton because we've been all about the law firm of McMillan and Cox, and of course Cam Pickett's going to be heavily involved. But Kubeka, this is his 3rd year in the program. He's ready to take the next step too.
I think is it his 4th year in the program?
Did he have a redshirt year?
He had a redshirt year.
So 3rd year.
This is his 4th year, but 3rd year where he's able to, make an impact on the field. And it feels like every single year we've brought up Keaton Kubeka's name of like, man, this is going to be the year, and either injury or just depth chart or, recruiting over him or whatever. But I think Keaton Kubeka is really going to take a big step up. And, I've been watching him at practice, man, and I think he's going to be a nice piece for this Kansas football team. And I think he's going to, have probably the biggest impact he's ever had for Kansas this year. Granted, last year only had 157 yards on the year, 1 touchdown, and that was in the Fresno State game. But I think, feasibly, when you look at this, this is going to be Keaton Kubeka's best year that he's had as a Jayhawk so far.
And this is his 4th year in the program. He was on the Guaranteed Rate Bowl team, but also missed a season due to injury. So hoping for the best for him. If you missed anything from practice the last couple of days throughout fall camp, find us on social media at the Kansas Nation, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Kansas Nation on Facebook, at the Kansas Nation YouTube as well, and of course our website, kansasnation.com. KU football chatter rolls on after this as we bring in the California Kid, ESPN Kansas City, kansasnation.com. Henry Greenstein with you here on Rock Chalk Sports. Got to tell you about Joslin's Jewelry, though. Joslin's partners of us here at Kansas Nation. Gary Joslin and the entire Joslin family, proud to have earned the trust of 3 generations of customers. The jeweler you will recommend to your friends and family, that is their reputation. You can find them at 95th and Antioch, right in front of the big grocery store. If you need a chain, a ring, other items fixed, they can help you out over at Joslin's Jewelry, a staple here in the community. And again, you will recommend them to your friends and family. I want to thank them for their partnership. If you're in the market for anything here as the fall rolls around, make sure that you check out Joslin's. They can help you out with any jewelry that you need, or get you something new and shiny.
Joslin's Jewelry, for the best that's yet to come.
All right, Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, LJWorld.com, joins us here in studio. Greeny, we were drooling over the high confidence, high energy press conferences that we were at a little bit earlier today. You were there as well. Coach Andy Kotelnicki, the associate head coach and offensive coordinator, and the director of strength and conditioning, Matt Gildersleeve. Man, that's a shot of coffee in the morning is what that was with those two guys coming in. Your thoughts on what they said, because a lot of great insight from both of them. We ran through a few of the numbers that Gildersleeve gave, but Kotelnicki, he seems pretty bullish on some of the guys on the offensive side too.
Yeah, a day with those two is designed to generate as much positive press as possible as the KU football program can possibly get in a single day. I just said 2 words multiple times in that sentence. That was not my most eloquent moment. It sounds like, here's what I took away from Sleeve. The difference between a 17-week off-season weightlifting program and an 11-week off-season weightlifting program is quite substantial. And he basically talked about, between the way things shook out this year with moving spring a little bit later, spring ball obviously started later than it has in previous seasons, and then also the way things shook out last year with having a week 0 game and an earlier start of the season, they had a really, really compressed offseason program this year. And it seems, at least from what we heard today, there's so many stats he gave that you could rattle off, but all those disparities in the the top end speeds players were getting, like, you know, more than 22 miles an hour. They've gone from 3 to 11. But the more than 21 miles an hour is the most dramatic disparity.
15 to 39.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I was going to try to talk around the fact that I didn't remember those numbers. And then, of course, you talk about, you know, like offensive line being 11 pounds heavier on average than last year, defensive line being 9 pounds heavier. And I was especially impressed by what he talked about with the onboarding work they did so they could kind of hit the ground running, like with better and more in-depth knowledge about each of the new transfers they were bringing in. It seems like by talking to their past strength coaches, by examining their past injury histories, they were able to get a much better understanding of each individual prospect than they had the capacity to last year. And I think that's probably deserves a lot of credit for some of the stuff he talked about in terms of Nick McMillan putting on weight, Dylan Edwards putting on weight, just allowing players to bulk up at a better rate than they had in the past. So, you know, this is how it is with Sleeve every year, but it's hard to argue with numbers, and it certainly sounds like they've taken a lot of steps forward. As for Kotelnicki, you know, you kind of know what you're going to get. He comes out and starts talking about how he wants Gatorade in cans.
Yeah,
he
awesome.
Delivers a minute
Wants
long.
some G2.
Yeah. I don't think they're a sponsor of Kansas football, so I'm sure that maybe they need to get involved. But otherwise, like, you know, just I always ask him, at least I have since we've seen him, he has this reputation for creativity, but when he was here the first time around, the justification for that was these guys have been here a long time, so to them, it's not too big of a deal to layer on more and more wrinkles because they understand the offense. Because you think about in 2023, almost every prominent player had been with them for 3 years on offense, if not more. So I just have my own personal hesitations when it comes to the complexity of this offense and the fact that you're going to have a new starting quarterback and a skill position core made up almost entirely of transfers, but he didn't seem that worried. I think he thinks that to people within the program, the concepts are fundamentally simple, and it's only to the untrained eye, the away person, that they seem that way. He talked a little bit about that because Matt Tate asked something like, you know, he basically said, it seems like fans expect this to be pretty similar to what was before. Do you think you can deliver the same kind of thing? And he's like, well, frankly, respectfully, they don't know what they're looking at. But yeah, he's an engaging speaker, and it's always fun to hear from him, and as well as Gildersleeve.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Getting out of that press conference, I was just like, I was juiced. I was ready to run
You
through
ready
a
to
brick
run through a wall?
man.
Yep.
11-1. 11-1.
11-1. Just 12-0. Why can't you just go 12-0?
You can't go 12-0 because then you got to
even in your wildest dreams, you can't even go 12-0.
We'll see how you're feeling by the end of fall camp.
Yeah.
That's fair. Also got a chance to hear from Lance Leipold yesterday, and obviously this is day 2 of us actually being able to see fall camp. I'm curious to know your, I guess, approach to watching these fall camps, because we don't see them line up in, 11 on 11 and see a lot of different stuff, but we're able to see routes on air. We're able to see, drills and different things like that. What are you looking for, I guess? Is there anything in particular that you're going to be looking for throughout this fall camp, I guess, in terms of guys who you're anticipating is going to have a big year, or, crisper route running? Like, just what are you looking at?
I mean, I think for all practical purposes, it is very, very difficult to get anything of substance out of those little
That's kind of why
practice.
I was asking you, because I actually want to listen and see what, because it's hard.
Man,
it's hard to
credit to Swain and Kirby, because they somehow find something to write about at practice almost every day.
Good for them.
And it's challenging from those little segments. I'm trying to pay more attention this year to what the coaches are actually saying and what pointers they're giving the people in their position groups. It's just hard to hear sometimes because of the music, and we're also far away from them.
Right.
So that doesn't always work out super well. Obviously, you got to get over that pursuit drill, right?
Yes.
That's like some of the most concrete observations. I think I've talked about this on the show before, but for those who don't know, the 11 members of the first team defense have to run out really quickly onto the field and then run off.
Yes. Which means the members of the media have to really quickly be like, all right, this guy's there, and then, they're gone.
Now, it hasn't been insanely helpful the first couple of days because there are several starters who have been sitting out for one reason or another. So, like, for example, I don't necessarily think that true freshman Trey Brown is going to be the starting nickel corner.
Right. I
as we
brought
saw.
that up. Yeah.
But my suspicion is, well, Kaijon Cummings-Coleman and Mason Ellis are both coming back from injuries in the spring. They're probably limited in some tiny ways in terms of what they're able to do. Hence, Trey ends up being out there. But in terms of material information, seeing the pursuit drill is the best way to see who's running with the top units. And like, you can't find out too much else from anything else. Sometimes you can see, especially in terms of like what quarterbacks and running backs are doing, like you can see some of the kinds of option concepts that they want to implement. That can be fun, and it can give you a preview of the kind of wrinkles they might be able to execute in that realm. But on the whole, I think it is the material insights that you can gain are few and far between from the segments of fall camp that we're able to watch.
Yeah. Henry Greenstein, KSports.com, and the Lawrence Journal World joins us here in studio. And Henry, wanted to talk to you about the offensive line. We heard Kotelnicki talk about the offensive line, say that they're really the group that he can see meshing together. Probably the best out of anybody. And, you know, offensive linemen, they tend to do that because they're in a club of their own, I guess, sometimes. But also,
not like any of the other positions.
No,
which are
yeah,
not in a club of their own.
Not well. It's different. It's just different when you get a bunch of big guys. Yeah, it's just different. But obviously a lot of new faces. You have Kason Carpenter and you know Connor Stroh, Nick Morrow coming in. I guess what's your anticipation of this offensive line? We know that Gildersleeve said that they're like 9 pounds heavier, and a lot of these guys are a lot faster than maybe years in the past. But what are you looking at in terms of the offensive line? Do you think they're going to be better than years past?
Well, I mean, Connor Stroh's got to be doing some work in that average. They got him at
Sure.
They got him at 350.
Yeah. No, he's a big boy.
It's pretty crazy.
And he's like 6'8", and he's playing guard.
Yes, it's interesting.
That guy is built. You look at that guy, you go, that guy's an offensive tackle.
Yes, but he and Tavake Tuikolovatu are battling for the starting right guard spot. You know, it's encouraging to hear Kotelnicki say he thinks that position group is gelling better than any other on the offense, because there are real concerns there with 3 new starters from last year. All of them, unless it's Tavake, coming from other programs. And so it's a non-trivial thing to have them develop that kind of synchronicity and that rapport. I think Calvin Clements and Amir Herring are both going to take significant steps forward this year, both in terms of their on-field consistency, because that's something Clements really lacked in particular, and also just in terms of leadership. We talked to them about in the spring. I think those guys have been in the program for long enough at this point that they can sort of set the tone for everyone else. You know, I'm not exactly breaking new ground here, but I think that if the group is gelling well, those two are the ones who deserve a lot of credit for it, as well as Daryl Agpalsa, who, you know, I know people like to talk about a lot of the good things that Scott Fuchs did before Agpalsa was here, but to his credit, like, KU's had a cohesive offensive line. They always have these kind of spare parts they have to make things out of, but they just keep sending people to the NFL, even when it's not like a big name player out of the unit. So
3 years in a row, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so the last two, Agpalsa, and the first one. Yeah. But yeah, the first one was Fuchs. I mean, I don't know why I just stopped in the middle of that thought. But essentially, I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt a little bit. He kind of said in the spring, remember, he was like, you guys thought I was crazy when I switched Bryce Cabledew and Logan Brown and ended up working out. So I think KU's earned a little bit of the benefit of the doubt in the offensive line department. And so that has me kind of pushing away some of my hesitations. Well, like, okay, Kason Carpenter didn't really play last year for the team that was the worst in the Big 12. Nick Morrow's not played on the right side of the offensive line before. Like, there are some misgivings I could have, but I think that unlike many other position groups, they have, you know, they've earned a little bit of confidence from the world at large.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, particularly given the amount of success, like you said, individually KU has had on the offensive line and moving on to the next level. Henry, let's talk a little basketball. Just one thing, the news that came out yesterday regarding the Players Era tournament in Vegas. Kansas has had a lot of press regarding non-conference MTEs. We know the Diamond Cup might be something that comes about in the future, but certainly they're now in the CBS Sports Classic. They've got the Champions Classic. They're in the Players Era. Now they're in the Players Era moving forward through 2030, 2031. I mean, I have to think this is a good thing because this is kind of the way of the world right now in college athletics. This is an opportunity for NIL. opportunities for KU players. And yeah, now they're signed in through 2030, 31.
Yeah. I forgot about that Diamond Cup thing.
I know.
Thank you for a reminder. Also,
Right.
thank you for the reminder to request the new contract with the Players Era, which I should probably do.
There you go.
No, I mean, you got to be in this if you can, because anything that prevents your athletic department representatives from having to make more phone calls to donors, anything to minimize donor fatigue in terms of the NIL and revenue sharing world, where people are kind of handing you NIL opportunities on a silver platter, you got to take it. And that's why so many people are keen on getting into this tournament. They're not always the promptest with their payouts, as we know, but no one else has matched a consistent ability to deliver this level of lucrative partnership the teams contained within. I've said this on this show multiple times. I'm surprised that no one else has been able to imitate this yet. Just get like some powerful private capital backer and try to deliver these material rewards to teams that, you know, if you do that and combine it with the experiential element of a Maui or a Atlantis, that to me seems like a recipe for success that will merge the old and new worlds of the college basketball multi-team event. But you know, I'm not an event manager, and no one asked me my opinion on that particular institution of college athletics, except for you guys.
Yeah.
So all that is to say, being involved in the Players Era is good. You know, there have been reports KU gets the most money out of any team that's in the Players Era, which I would definitely believe based on those that are included and based on the past contract that I've seen where, you know, the bonuses they get seem higher than what has been reported for other teams, so I would totally believe that. Also, Players Era has ambitions about expanding to more and more of the calendar and to other events. At least in the previous contract, KU had sort of a first right of refusal to be part of those sorts of things, so even beyond just what we've come to know as the Players Era, this event in Las Vegas in November, it seems good for Kansas to have the opportunity to be on the forefront of anything else that Ever Wonder Studio might come up with.
Yeah. Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, and the Lawrence Journal World. Henry, I know that the Fall Sports Preview is coming out this weekend.
Wow. Thank you for that plug.
Yeah, absolutely. Be sure to check it out on ljworld.com or get your
Sunday
hands
print
dirty.
issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get the ink under the fingernails. That's what America's all about.
That's what America's all about.
That's what I've heard. That's
Okay.
what I've heard. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about KU women's soccer as obviously starting up this week in an exhibition against Iowa. They're ranked 15th in the nation preseason according to the United Soccer Coaches preseason poll, 15th in the nation. You also have Caroline Castans as well as Julian Grigorski named to the preseason All Big 12 team. That was on Monday. You have a lot of talent coming back. Lost a little bit of talent in the transfer portal, just obviously Olivia Page. But at the same time, you're bringing back a lot of really talented players, and Nate Lee is only continuing to get better during his tenure. Give us a preview of what we can expect from this KU soccer team.
Yeah, a lot of different ways to go. I think my eyes will primarily be on the forward position. As you guys know, they don't have. Well, I was gonna say they don't have Lexi Watts anymore, but you never know what could happen, right? They don't have Lexi Watts anymore.
Return 2 days before the exhibition.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Yeah. They don't have Lexi Watts, who is one of the best programs in their best players in their recent history, and they don't have Sage Wimes, who transferred to West Virginia. KU does not play West Virginia this year, by the way.
Weird.
No revenge game unless they
Oh,
win
man.
the Big 12
Dang it.
tournament. So the question then becomes, all right, well, with how important the forwards are to what Nate wants to do in terms of the pressure, that's their signature deal. Make things difficult on the opposing keeper and the defenders in terms of playing the ball forward. With how central that is to the identity of the KU soccer team, who will fill those spots? To me, the leading candidates are probably Jordan Rowan, who was a freshman last year and had some big moments, and Jocelyn Harima, who's been a backup with a steadily escalating role her whole career. But they also have many others who are vying for it, like Faith Johnston, who had 2 goals in the NCAA tournament, who was also a freshman last year. They have transfers from K-State and from Butler at the forward position as well. So that's kind of where my attention will be going, because I feel pretty confident about the rest of the roster. When you think about having Kate Langfelder and Joanne Grigorski returning in the midfield, that's a really good starting point, especially because Grigorski had 10 goals last year, so you know you'll have some level of scoring, even if you're less consistent at forward. You've got an attacking midfielder who can deliver in that respect. And Langfelder has been kind of the unsung hero of the program the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Nate Lee's talked a lot about how whenever they have to make a tactical adjustment, she's kind of the player who keys that particular element. Defense, I think in terms of having at wingback Caroline Castens and Livy Moore, those are two really potent players in terms of coming forward and bringing the attack and being able to send in services from the wing. Castens had 15 assists last year. Livy Moore only moved to wingback midway through the season, so they seem to think that having her train there throughout the offseason, they should be just as dangerous from the right as they are from the left. Center back is where things get a little interesting. They're missing one because Olivia Page transferred.
Yep.
And then last year when they moved Livy Moore to wingback, they moved Emily Tobin inside. So they had Emily Tobin and Jordan Felstad there. Well, from what I've heard, and even talking to Nate Lee, they haven't been fully healthy in the lead up to the season, so they might have to do some mixing and matching there. In terms of Olivia Page's spot, they think they might be able to move London Defini, who's a transfer from Lipscomb, in there, but they also might ultimately decide that she fits better as a substitute for Caroline Castens. So, because she hasn't really played center back as much. So, a couple of question marks, and we'll probably get some early answers on Saturday. On the whole, I think they can be really good. Picked to tie for third in the Big 12, which is the highest they've ever been picked in the preseason. And certainly, Nate's done a remarkable amount with that program just in the 2 years since coming in. I just think also they only have 8 home matches this year. So they'll have, on the other hand, they've been one of the best teams in the country on the road. So there are a lot of challenges they'll have to contend with, maybe more so than in previous years. And I'll be interested to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, TCU picked to win the conference. Not surprising on that front. But yeah, the Sage Wimes revenge game won't be a game, but they did both receive 182 votes in
Revenge
the preseason.
poll.
They tied, revenge poll, tied for third in the Big 12 soccer preseason. Last thing for you, Henry, like Dan said, you got your fall sports preview coming up. A word on KU volleyball, trying to take the next step under Matt Ulmer. We had Ray Bouchard actually in the studio last week. 27 years he spent at Kansas, kind of incredible. And now this is year 2 for Matt Ulmer. He brings in a talented group of players. As expected, Reese Messer comes in, a talented setter, and returns some young talent as well, headlined by people like Logan Bell. So your thoughts on volleyball going into this season?
Yeah, young is the key word. We haven't gotten the Big 12 honors yet, but I have a pretty strong feeling that Taylor Stanley will be the Big 12 preseason freshman of the year. A right side hitter and that's, I don't know every freshman in Big 12 volleyball, but I have a pretty strong feeling that someone who was a top 10 recruit in her class will be a leading candidate for that. She's out of Overland Park. She'll be an immediate plug-and-play starter on the right side. The thing is, this is going to be an extremely young team. We know they have some returning experience. Reese Patak will be preseason all-conference for sure in the middle. But the left side, outside of Grace Nelson and kind of a reserve option in Kenzie Dean, it's going to be really, really new. And I think Ulmer believes that they can be just as potent, if not more so, with all the freshmen they brought in, because a lot of them, they can touch 10-6 with a vertical leap. That's non-trivial. That allows you to compete at the highest level.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's just and I think the number of people they have who can do that is vastly higher, but most of those people are freshmen. So it's a sign that last year, I think I've said this before, but last year was almost more of a 0 year for Ulmer, especially because he came in late in terms of when he was hired in late January after the portal had already happened. This year, he's really populated the roster with the kind of talent he wants. It's just going to be a question of how quickly those players can get adjusted to the collegiate level. I think they can, because besides Stanley, you think about the likes of Tessa Dodd and Avery Polton. These are Gatorade players of the year in their respective states. There's reason for optimism. And then, you have veterans. You mentioned Logan Bell. I don't know exactly how they're going to use her, because she's listed as a pin hitter, played DS all last season. Yeah. That's kind of the whole thing with her, is she's undersized for a pin but wants to hit. So I don't know exactly where she fits in. Maybe they have her hit more because they're so young at that position. You got returning players like her and Nelson and Kristen Klein, and I think the transfers, Reese Messer and Olivia Hasbrook, will both start right away. But a lot of question marks there too, and I think Ulmer's just earned a certain level of confidence considering the consistent level of results he's obtained, but this team will definitely require a lot of. They'll have to get mature pretty quickly.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But always exciting at Horse Family Volleyball Arena. I mean, the past 10, 15 years, I would say that atmosphere has become one of the best in the Big 12. Hopefully, a great year for Matt Ulmer, one of the great coaches that we've got here at KU, brought on by the Director of Athletics and Vice Chancellor Travis Goff. Henry Greenstein, good luck with your fall sports preview coming out. Again, check that out, ljworld.com, kusports.com. We'll have you on again next week. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to recap soccer against Iowa and talk more KU football as we've got games now on the horizon. Thanks again, Henry.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, more coming up here on Rock Chalk Sports, ESPN Kansas City and kansasnation.com. With Jayhawk Checking from Central Bank, Jayhawk fans can carry their pride wherever they go with the official Jayhawk debit card. Shout out to Hunter and Mackenzie, by the way, friends of the show.
Yeah.
Central Bank is proud to support the traditions and communities that bring people together. As the proud community banking partner of the University of Kansas, Central Bank is committed to serving Jayhawk fans with banking options designed for real life. Learn more about Jayhawk Checking and the exclusive debit card at jayhawkchecking.com. Jayhawkchecking.com, Central Bank, the proud community banking partner of the University of Kansas, member FDIC. Great stuff earlier today from Andy Kotelnicki at the football building as KU's associate head coach and offensive coordinator spoke to the media. Here's part one of that press conference from today.
I'm so glad that Gatorade has brought back aluminum cans. If you have not, and maybe some of you aren't old enough, but some of you are, this is the best way to drink Gatorade. The only thing that could potentially be better is a glass bottle.
There it is. That's the right answer. Glass bottle is it.
That's how they used to make them originally, man.
Glass bottle. Mm-hmm. Number one. Agreed.
So what I'm trying to do is get the Gatorade people to maybe expand their flavor selection instead of just being red, orange, and yellow available in the can. Maybe some of the G2s, lower calories for those of us who are a little older, right?
How are you trying to do that? Have you reached out?
Well, this is it right here. So I need you guys to promote it a little bit more at Gatorade or whatever their Twitter handle is. Expand the aluminum can collection.
Start a movement.
That's right. Yeah, movement. I like that. That's what we're trying to do. Anyway, fire away, guys. Let's rock and roll. Appreciate you being here.
First fall camp here since you got back. How have the first couple days been?
Well, we've had 2 practices. They've been really good. I've been very pleased with what they've been able to retain throughout the course of the year. Football now, with what we can do with the players, the number of new players are every program. There's a ton of learning that has to happen when they first get here. Way back in January, I think when we talked in the spring, I talked about how what you're doing as a football program, and specifically on the football field, it has to be a continuation from when they get here in January until you start, kicking off. Then they've done a great job of that. So I have been very pleased with how they approached every cycle so far of the 2026 year. And now we're into this cycle, which is fall camp. It's been 2 practices. We haven't had any pads on yet other than helmets. And I've been really pleased. We were just talking yesterday to staff between what the defense has in and what we have in. I mean, we're really doing some really good things, both schematically, procedure-wise on both sides of the ball, and allowing our guys to go out there and really play fast. So I've noticed that right away.
Andy, you passed this point surely, but when you first got back and you saw this roster, some of it knew, some of it didn't, but did you have individual talks with skill position players and things like that? We talked to Cam Pickett a little bit yesterday, and he said you guys talked here and there about what you do, how he fits into that. I mean, was that an individual thing across the board?
Yeah, that's something that I guess I've probably been able to do for a while. I think it's really important, especially when you brought Cam's name, more mature, played a lot of college football. You really value their thoughts and opinions on things. Now, sometimes, if they're misguided, it's an opportunity to whatever point out and explain, or if it is, and give them a reason to explain why they think that way. But I like to ask, in particular, skill players. I go, what do you want to keep working on, right? Because we want to be very intentional out there with so if we're going to throw routes on air, we want to know how many routes a young man's going to get, how deep they are, how fast he's going to have to go. And so, okay, what routes do you need to work on? And then we, combine that with talking with the quarterbacks. What do you want to throw? And you get a little bit of a collaboration, right? Now, as a teacher, sometimes you got to guide them a little bit more because you got a little more experience about what we have to get to. But certainly when you have mature players, and we have a lot of them, getting their opinions and feedback on things, on what they want to do more of, I think is important, because I feel everyone who's on a team wants to feel that they have a chance to make an impact. And for our players, a lot of that is obviously on the football field, but they should also be able to have an impact on the intellectual information that's coming across them. What do we need to spend more time coaching and teaching? And sometimes you might get asked guys, because you have guys who have been in different programs and they see different things, and everyone can get on Google and find the play of the day or whatever it is. And so you have to sometimes communicate why that maybe doesn't fit if they have an idea, right? Or, hey, that's a good idea. Typically we're diverse enough that you can make almost anything fit, but we don't want to be just an offense that runs a bunch of different plays. We want to do everything complementary. So it's perhaps a long-winded answer to your question about individual players. I've done it for a while. I really value it, especially with mature guys.
When you come in for your first year at a place, which you've had to do twice in a few years, how do you balance wanting to be as creative as you are known to be with making things intelligible for a new group of guys who maybe aren't used to the way you do things?
Well, you teach, right? I think any teacher that's worth a lick at any whatever level, higher education, high school, middle school, they have a curriculum, they have a plan in mind, but they certainly alter it, either increasing the amount that they're giving or decreasing based off of how they're progressing. We do constant checking for understanding here, right? Through questions, walkthroughs, tests, whatever it is, to make sure that we are understanding what we're doing. The challenge is you don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, which is a thing. And we don't, creativity is a piece of it. We're doing that stuff to be, help our guys execute, right? But we have to make sure they understand how to block whatever play, right? Or run whatever route before you can put a little, fairy dust on there and make it a little sexier. So you do that by making sure you don't compromise the fundamental things, right? The meat and potatoes of what we're trying to do from a route or a scheme or technique standpoint. And then spending time focusing on maybe procedures or personnel or whatever else that could add a little more stress to the defense as you go. But you can never lose sight of that first piece. Are we throwing and catching a slant route well enough? Yes. Okay, now let's evolve it. Let's motion a guy. Let's have a play action piece to it. Let's add this route concept on the backside, whatever it might be. I think, again, going back to the teaching standpoint, you should always be checking in. Goes back to the question about individual players. Boy, I'm not comfortable yet throwing this concept. Okay, let's get it again, right?
Andy, you've got basically center, guard, tackle, probably new guys this year. What have you seen from that group early on?
Really impressed with the offensive line play right now. I think I've really been impressed with everyone's improvement, but, without having reflected a ton, that's the group that's really gelling together the most. There's been a ton of improvement. Coach Ike Paulson, Coach Queister, Coach Sticks have done an awesome job, all three of those guys with that group. And I would tell you, I'm pretty excited about, where we are. You go out there, we're going to try to figure out who the best guys are, which we're still working through right now. There's still a lot of competition, but I'm really, really kind of excited about how those guys are starting to play together.
It seems like Tavake and Connor Stroh are battling for one spot. How do you see those two guys right now, and what will they need to do?
They both have to demonstrate consistency, right? That's going to happen for all the guys, not just those two. And you're going to get, now when we get to putting the pads on, now we'll really be able to tell what's going on. You know what I mean? In terms of how they're doing and really being able to coach up technique. I'm very pleased with what that group and those kind of individuals between Connor and Vake, those cats, all of them up front, they really know what we're doing. Like, our guys know what we're doing, right? Now it's about going out there and doing it.
How would you compare the size of that room compared to maybe what you had in 22 or 23?
I don't know. It's probably a little bit bigger, but we haven't compromised athleticism at all, which I think is really important, for offensive linemen. We don't have just a bunch of big guys who waddle left and waddle right. We want guys who are athletic and can move and groove and play physical. But I think they're probably a little bit bigger. But, God dang, guys, they're over 300 pounds. They're over 300 pounds, right? They get to the 350 mark and you're like, oh, that guy's 350, But, I don't know. If they're between 300 and 350, they're freaking big, right? So.
You spent years going against Brian's defense. How does that compare to what DK has that you're going against?
BB, Coach Borland? Yeah. Shout out my guy, Coach Borland. Haven't talked to him in a little bit. Been about a year. But, I think every good defensive coordinator that I've worked with, they start with the critical things in football, tackling, effort pursuing to the football, right? Okay, creating turnovers. And I see that emphasis with all those guys, DK and Brian. The variances become maybe what you see a little bit more if there's more diversity in the front or more diversity in the coverage. Typically, people probably lean one way or the other because those things have to, they have to work together, right? If you get really diverse in the front, typically the back half has to be not as diverse, right? If you get really diverse in the back half, and the front can't be, as diverse. And so there's a yin and yang there. And I think between both of those guys, there's a really good balance of that right now,
If you were to describe Cole's game to someone who's never watched a second of him, how would you go about describing his strengths or what he offers?
Well, the first thing I think about it, he demonstrates such toughness. You know what I mean? He's tough. He's a tremendous leader. He's an individual who, which is an expectation for all quarterbacks, who really puts work and effort into making sure he's the maestro in the huddle, right? And he getting guys lined up and help hold guys accountable. But then you'll see somebody who I think was going to make plays, which here we are. I think one of the things I'm excited about in the quarterback room is we have some athleticism, in-depth athleticism, that allow those guys to extend some plays. We had one just yesterday in practice. We haven't watched the film yet from today, but where we talk about, oh, hey, man, let's say we run a play action. The intent of the play is to get it, press the ball down the field, but whatever, it wasn't open. If you're going through your progression or you have to move off your launch point, your feet are a valuable weapon. And that happened yesterday, right? And they take off and they run the game 10, 15 yards or whatever, and you get a first down. Like, those little hidden yardage plays don't show up very much on the stat line, but I'm telling you, they're so important for offenses. And the amount of time that you can pick up a cheap first down because the quarterback was athletic enough to scramble, right, and make people defend him. That's a big deal. So, again, you're asked for just a description of Cole. He's awesome. He's tough. He's very committed to growth, okay? And I think that speaks to a lot of our quarterback group, all of those guys.
We know you've got a lot of options at running back. Now Jalen Dupree's back. What can he add to that room?
I think what I liked about him, watching him come back and run, is I think he has, he's pretty rocked up. He's, physically pretty big. You know what I mean? We have, like between him and Yasin, those are pretty big thumping guys, and that can take a toll on people, right? You know what I mean? Especially when you start to get and make the skinny butts tackle, right? Your secondary players, that'll take a toll on them, right? And I'm excited to see him do that and continue to progress.
Lance mentioned you guys have really continued to emphasize the run game. How much of that is trying to help those quarterbacks? I mean, I know that's football, but also specifically with guys that have never had the job started, done that. Is that
yeah, I think, whatever you're doing on offense, and there's so many different philosophies, but at the end of the day, all offense is trying to do the same thing, and that's score. Okay? So what does that look like for your football team? You're trying to score more points than your opponent. Duh. Okay? Well, if maybe have a more inexperienced quarterback, what are some things that you can do to take a few variables off of their plate? Right? That's what you would look to do, and being good at running the football should help with that. Now, what I have learned is I think even experienced quarterbacks benefit greatly from taking variables off their plates. I think you see that in the professional football ranks right now. The quarterbacks who maybe weren't as highly touted coming out now have found themselves in a lot of offenses that are taking over where variables are limited for the quarterbacks. And allowing those guys to go out there and throw and let the receivers make plays and having a good running attack that will hopefully set up play action passes will be a critical part of what we do, and that's just something that we believe in here, and it's part of our commitment to be running the ball. Now, I'm not saying that you go into a game, you still you plan for balance, right, in terms of 50-50 run pass, and then you can alter as it goes, because I've been, I've been, I think it's 21 or 22 years I've been a coordinator, I can't remember, but I've been at places where, we're going to run the ball great, and then you get into a game where you can't, and you have to be able to throw the ball. And then I've also had the opposite. We're going to throw the ball, and then you can't, and you got to be able to run the ball. So there's always going to be about balance, and most importantly, at this time of year is developing balance in what we're doing, both the run and the pass.
That's part one of Associate Head Coach Andy Kotelnicki a little bit earlier today. We're going to have part two of it a little bit later in the show. But, yeah, really charismatic guy. It's so much fun talking to him. Hopefully we get more conversations with him as fall camp rolls on. But September 4th, it's all about that. Long Island comes calling, and KU football season opener. That's a Friday night, back-to-back Friday nights. KU will start their season here at the booth It'll be 7 p.m. kickoff, both against Long Island on September 4th and Missouri on September 11th. Single game tickets, are on sale today, so check that out. KUathletics.com/tickets if you want to check out some KU football and pack the booth. All right, Coach K a little bit later, but next, the KU Mailbag segment brought to us by you, the fans. Appreciate everybody who sent in their comments and questions. That's next, ESPN Kansas City, kansasnation.com. Thanks to everybody tuning in to Rock Chalk Sports live on Facebook, live on YouTube, kansasnation.com, and everybody listening over on ESPN Kansas City. We really appreciate you guys. Got a lot of content as the week rolls on. Again, you're going to hear more from Coach Andy Kotelnicki. Next segment, you'll hear from Coach Matt Gildersleeve. On tomorrow's show, also going to hear from DK McDonald, some safeties a little bit later in the week as well. And we're going to have some new blood on the show in the form of some new guests. You might know some of them, but of course, Shreyas Laddha, he has moved on.
That's right.
So he will no longer be our Friday guest. Eventually, we're going to be having Brian Haney on. He is the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks. He'll be coming on weekly to talk KU football, KU basketball, as he is an in-season exclusive guest, which reminds me, Haney and the Hawks is going to be breaking out some new episodes in coming weeks. Zeke Mayo and Ray Bouchard, Haney and the Hawks, brought to you by Jefferson's, kansasnation.com, and, of course, at the Kansas Nation on YouTube. Check out those episodes. Really cool stuff, one-on-ones with Haney and Jayhawks of old. All right, KU Mailbag segment. Dan, let's get into this.
Yeah. Do you want to start off with this one? Because this could be a long one. But, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and start it off. Henry. Yes, that Henry. He wants to know, if there is a TBT for football, who would you want on the KU alumni team?
Well, first off, that would be unfortunate for football to have a tournament called the basketball tournament.
Yeah,
so
TFT.
they would need to change the name, the acronym for the basketball tournament if they're doing it for football.
They have a soccer tournament. So
TST?
Yes, TST. So this would be TFT.
Okay. So if there's a TFT, who would you want on the KU alumni team?
The football tournament.
I am going to say this, but I want you to just not, and this has nothing to do with what you've done in the past. Please don't just name off 12, 14, 16 players, because you're going to do, he'd be really good. Oh, he'd be really good.
Can I name off
he'd
18
be really good.
players?
Why don't you name a few guys that you really like on TFT?
So let's put some ground rules in. Is it tackle, or are they going 7-on? Let's go 7-on-7.
Okay,
I like
7-on-7.
Because, like, you'd be like, oh. Also, let's make them, like how TBT, you're not allowed to play if you're in the NBA. Let's make them non-NFL guys who are currently on NFL rosters, which I think is fun.
Non-NFL guys who are currently on NFL rosters.
Sorry.
You're not eligible.
Not NFL guys. Like, anybody who's on an NFL roster right now, they're not eligible.
Yes,
to play.
that reminds me of the basketball tournament, because if you're on an NBA roster, you can't play. How about that? Crazy. All right, yeah. Why don't you start naming guys? Why don't you name 12, 14, 16 guys? Oh, what about him? He'd be good.
All right. Here's the thing. Do you think Carter Stanley's been tossed around the rock very much?
I like Carter Stanley a lot.
But he's been working in finance for the last few years.
How about Jason Bean?
Jason Bean would be fun.
He would be one of the ultimate TFT guys.
Yeah, I think Jason Bean. Somebody said Ethan Vasco would be fun. Remember him?
Was he done at Coastal?
I think so. I think he was at Liberty, too.
Yeah, who was I thinking from Coastal? Was he at both places?
I think so. I think he might have transferred to both places. Yeah, that sounds right. Shout out to Ethan Vasco.
Yeah, he was at both places.
Also, if you could pick non-alumni guys, my pick would be a couple of Emporia State wide receivers.
Cole Schumacher.
Yeah, Cole would be on that team. Corey Thomas, shout out. Let's see. There's one guy. His name is Tyler Common right now. He plays for the Toronto Argonauts.
Yes, you've brought him up before.
Shout out to TK. He's actually leading the CFL, I think, in touchdowns right now.
So the question, though, is who would you want on the KU alumni team? So
yeah,
let's
but
think of
also
some
there's
KU
Jacob.
players.
Sure.
Puka Williams. He'd be fun.
Puka's great. I mean, you want to go Steven Sims or Kwame Lassiter on the outside? I think those would be fun. Because Steven Sims is not on an NFL roster right now.
He's technically not, right. But he has had a NFL career that's 7 years in the NFL, something like that.
I know. What about maybe some older guys? Like, I think Des Briscoe still got it.
He would be the same age as Mario Chalmers, so he'd be 40.
Yeah. Jerry Rice played until he was 40.
Do you have any better options?
Andrew Parchment. I think Steven Sims is probably the right answer for a wide
I think
receiver.
Jason Bean is the right answer.
So you go Jason Bean,
If you're
Steven
going
Sims.
TFT.
Who do you go on the other side? And then Puka Williams, obviously, especially if you're going 7-on-7, Puka Williams for sure. I think
What
Kwame
about Mason
Lassiter,
Fairchild?
Mason Fairchild would be good. Jared Casey plays center. He just snaps the ball. Okay,
I like the Jared Casey pick. I like
Let's
that.
think about defense. I think Joe Deneen still looks really good. I'm gonna go. Kobe and Mello. Oh, Daniel Highshot. No, but Puka Williams I think would be better in 7-on-7.
Doesn't Kobe still have a contract? Doesn't Kobe still have a contract with the Falcons?
Okay, Tyler says Daniel Highshot would be a great linebacker.
Yeah, Kobe still has a contract with the Falcons.
Kobe still does have a so Mello Dotson. I think you go
Does
for
he
sure.
still have a contract with the?
He was with the Raiders, but I think
Houston
he got-
Gamblers now.
Okay, he's with the Houston Gamblers. Dang. Does that count? I mean,
No, UFL. I think you're eligible.
UFL is eligible. Okay, because I know Mason Fairchild and Jason Bean both have UFL contracts too. Try this one on for size. Ja'Cory Stewart. No, Ja'Cory Shepard. There's a Ja'Cory Stewart also, but Ja'Cory Shepard. You don't like that?
I mean, he's a guy who
What
played
about Mike
at KU.
Lee? Mike Lee at safety.
Mike Lee, I like that.
Yeah.
Hard hitter.
Yeah. Bryce Tornaden also at safety. I think you go Joe Deneen. I think Ben Heaney still has a little juice left in the tank, even though he wasn't great in coverage. I think we're assembling a pretty good 7-on-7 team.
Trevor Cardell's got good size.
Yeah, that's true. Kenny Logan.
Yeah, UFL.
I think it's CFL.
CFL.
Edmonton Elks.
CFL also eligible. Good question there, Henry. Hank wants to know who would be the best freshman among all KU sports. Man,
For this year? Yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to say hot take, Tyron Stokes.
I'm going to go with Tyron Stokes, but then I'm also going to say Taylor Stanley. We
Taylor
just talked
Stanley's
about
going
her.
to be great. Yeah. What about Sidney Bryant? For volleyball and basketball.
Little dual threat.
Well, dual threat. Let's see. I mean, for football, a lot of those guys are going to redshirt. Well, I guess a redshirt's not technically a thing anymore. So, the only feasible one I can really see is like Josh Galbraith, who I think is maybe going to get some play, even though there are a lot of linebackers. So, again, probably not going to be.
Corey Mockery's semi-feasible.
Corey Mockery would be okay. But again, you have such a deep running back room. I think
Freshman.
the correct
is
answers
Stokes,
is
but
Stokes
then you've got
and Taylor Stanley.
Stanley because she's going to play right away too.
Yeah. She's all Big 12, which so is Tyron Stokes. Tyron Stokes is probably going to be all Big 12.
He better be. You need him to be a first-team All-American.
But you said it.
Luke has an interesting one here. Would you rather eat 12 tarantulas or spend 12 days in federal prison?
Prison, easy. Prison, easy.
See,
Easily prison.
To me, I think the more tarantulas, the higher the number, the more likely I am to say prison.
Yeah.
Because I think once you get to 26 tarantulas, your 26th day in prison, you're used to it. It's terrible.
Ooh, yeah, good point.
But would you eat 2 tarantulas
or 2 days in
or
prison?
2 days in prison?
I'd spend 2 days in prison.
Yeah. Tarantulas is bad, man. It's going to have to be something else.
I think it's I'm bugs. I guess
Yeah,
they're not
it'll
bugs; they're arachnids.
It's going to have to be a different arachnid or just a straight up bug.
How many different
Tarantulas
arachnids can you
is
name?
They're too, I don't know.
Scorpions.
Let's look it up. See, but scorpions you could eat because they're not that big.
Yeah.
Tarantulas are furry and bony.
That's the thing. Oh, bony. I don't like that.
I don't even know if they probably don't even have bones.
Probably like chicken bones.
Scorpions are an arachnid, I think.
Yeah.
See, those are tiny. See, I feel like I would eat 2 scorpions rather than go
Are they
to jail
dead?
for to
and
prison
can
for 2
I
days.
fry them and
That's
chop
a
them
good
up
point.
and
That's
put
a
them
good
on like a
point.
salad? Because that's like bacon
And then put
bits.
ranch dressing.
And then that's like bacon bits at that point.
Yes.
That would be really easy. But again, I hate
Ticks and mites are on here. Spiders.
all bugs and arachnids.
Yeah, this is disgusting. Vinegaroons. What are these?
I think that
Whip scorpions.
there's not a number that you could give me where I wouldn't pick federal prison.
But what if it's not tarantulas?
What would it be? Like, it doesn't matter what kind of bug. It could be
What
worms.
what about scorpions, honestly? They're small.
Yeah, I would still go to federal prison. If it was
that's-
worms, I'd go to federal prison. I like bugs.
Tarantulas are big, and you know what else they are? They're furry.
Yeah,
I don't want that.
you said that already.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to, I want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah, I don't like the hair. Any bugs with hair, unless they do it up.
Name
fun.
25 bugs with hair.
All right, let me see.
I don't know. Those things freak me
Butterflies?
out. The fact that Luke
I
is
think
asking
hair.
this question makes me a little bit concerned.
So that's the thing. I mean, I would be fine in federal prison because you know what I would do? I would just sit in my cell and maybe I could catch up on some reading, late reading. You know, I think the camaraderie in there is nice. They all have their little friend groups. I don't know. Might be kind of a fun experience.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I think no.
I agree. It
doesn't matter the number.
It's got to be.
I'm
prison.
always going to pick federal prison.
Cole says, "Are the Lions going to be good at football this year?" Well, to be second-year head coach Jason Thorin, I'm actually really looking forward to what Joey Dooley can do at quarterback. Shout out to Sunflower Elementary
talking
School.
about Lawrence
They've got
High?
a good defensive end edge rusher, Alex Bart, as well. So I think the Chesty Lions are going to be good this year. But again, Joey Dooley, he's just a very athletic, dual-threat quarterback. I think he's only a sophomore for LHS this year. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Really, really solid roster. But I think you look at Dooley on one side. Of course, shout out to Banks Bowen back in the day.
Shout out.
Being
Oklahoma
the signal
State
caller.
legend.
But
Is he
Alex
at North
Bart,
Alabama
again,
now?
kind of a defensive end, tight end type. He's going to be impactful. So I like that. We don't get a lot of questions about Lawrence local sports. But Cole coming through asking about the Chesty Lions.
Yeah, shout out. I actually don't think he was talking about the Chesty Lions.
I
But that was a
think he
good
was.
breakdown and a
think he
preview of local high school athletics. I think he was talking about the Detroit Lions because Cole is a Detroit Lions
I
fan.
don't think that was the case.
Do you think the Detroit Lions are going to be good this year?
I'll let you take that.
Jared Goff is good. Hutchinson, I think, is going to be a lot better. Not that he was bad, but I think he's
Wasn't
gonna,
he hurt for a large
Yeah,
portion?
he snapped his leg in half, which is really gross. But I think he'll be good. Let's see, Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously fantastic running back. Jameson Williams is going to be fun. Yeah, I think he'll be good.
I mean, you would have said everything that you just said. You would have said before last year.
Yeah,
Seriously, everything.
I
and
know.
they went 8-9, and I think finished last in the NFC North last year. Is that right?
Yeah, but I think last year was just a weird year for them. I love Dan Campbell. I can realistically see an 11-6 or 12-5 year for the.
So they
for
went
the
9-8. They tied with the Vikings
Okay.
at the cellar of the NFC North. Packers were 9-7-1, and the Bears were 11-6.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ben Johnson, by the way. The Bears were in the dumps. Everybody was thinking that was a terrible. They got killed. They lost to the Lions by like 100, and
Yeah.
they ended up winning the division.
Well, that's the thing is everybody thought that the Lions everybody thought Ben Johnson leaves the Lions, but they still have that good core group of guys, and then it turns out Ben Johnson was a much bigger deal, I think, for that offense. But I still think that they have a good core around them. I think, like I said, 11-6. I don't think that's crazy to think. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll make the playoffs. Do they make the NFC Championship game? Probably not. But who knows? The NFC could be up for grabs this year. KU Najee wants to know.
Here we go.
Love these. All right. KU Najee says, will Leroy Blyden average more or less than 11.3 points per game, 3.3 total rebounds per game, and 3.7 assists per game? Which second-year guard put up those numbers for Bill Self? So start with the first part first. Will Leroy Blyden average more than 11.3 points per game? Go.
No.
No?
No.
You think he's coming off the bench?
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Sure.
I think, and I have thought about this more, and I do, since you asked, think he's going to come off the bench. I do think it's going to be
Rosario?
Rosario at the 2.
Sure.
Yeah, Stokes at the 3.
Okay. I don't
But
hate
yes, I think he's going to score a lot. I think he'll hit a couple threes a game. I don't think 11.3 points, though.
I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I think that they start with Rosario starting, but I think that they're going to get to a point where they have to put in Leroy Blyden.
Yeah, as the starter?
Maybe.
I think that's completely asinine. I think that Bill Self thinks that Rosario is going to have this year and then go to the NBA. That's not a guy who's going to be a off-the-bench guy.
Okay. So you go
I think-
under. Are you under? So you're going under 3.3 and under 3.7 rebounds and assists, respectively.
Yeah, probably. I'll go under across the board. But I'm a huge Leroy Blyden fan, as you know. But he's only a sophomore.
Yeah. He also says, which second-year guard put up those numbers for Bill Self? What's your guess?
My guess would be,
I have somebody in mind.
yeah.
I'm wrong about
think,
that.
Let me
I'm way
think
wrong
for a
about
second.
that. Ooh, I got it. Hold on.
I mean, it was the first name that came to my mind, and we talked about him a lot with Blyden. I would guess Devontae.
You're probably right. I Googled Russell Robinson and DeJuan Harris. Both those guys were way under.
They didn't score.
I know.
Yeah.
They weren't scorers.
I'm going to guess Devontae Graham, which would have been the 15-16 season.
Let me look it up. Don't worry. Sophomore year. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Devontae Graham.
There you go.
Look at that. And you also asked Bill Self about that. You said,
I
hey,
did.
Yeah, so that's
I
great.
said, people love comparisons. Do you see a young Devontae in him? And he said, yeah, basically.
That's good. Man, good poll by
Thank
you. KU Najee also says, will Christian Reeves average more or less than 10.6 points per game, 7 total rebounds, and 0.8 blocks per game?
I think yeah. Then he says, which national champion Kansas Jayhawk put up those stats? That's got to be McCormick.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Darnell Jackson. But
That's a good guess, too. But did D-Block score 10.6? He might have. I don't know.
I think you're... Oh, my God. Yeah, it was David McCormick.
How about that?
Man.
Run DMC.
Shout out to you. Both of your first guesses were right on that.
Oh, shucks. You shouldn't. Yeah. How about Big Dave's big day, though?
Yeah.
In the national title game. Or as my brother would put it after I said that, Big Dave's enormous weekend. But it was. Ochai Agbaji, most outstanding player. Spoiler alert for anybody coming to our trivia night tonight in 2022. Yeah, but yeah, David McCormick briefly was benched at one point that year in favor of Mitch Lightfoot, came back in a big way. And, he had those 2 big hook shots, of course, that everybody remembers. But what was impressive about the one is that he missed it, got his own rebound, reset, slowed the game down, and scored. And then he did this going down. That's great stuff. Great stuff.
That's always great. You see that in the Rock Chalk video. Kansas, it's a better year. That's Brian Haney, David Lawrence, running down the sideline.
You can answer the Reeves question.
I will say no, yes. So I think less than 10.6, less than 7 rebounds, but I think he goes like 1.1 blocks per game. I think he's going to be a good rim protector.
So. 7'2", we're going to need him.
Yeah, I think whenever he's in, he's going to be a nice rim protector. He's going to get at least a block per game.
Cody
So,
with another hard hitter. Are calzones underrated? Good question. Also a similar question. What's the difference between a calzone and a stromboli? I still don't know.
So
It's kind of
their
like
names are different.
Oh, because one starts with a... Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Let me actually... What is the difference?
I think a stromboli is longer and skinnier. You ever go to Sparrow?
So a calzone is a round circle of round circle of dough folded in half like a taco or a half moon.
Is this all
A
over you?
stromboli is a rectangular sheet of dough topped with ingredients rolled up into a cylinder like a burrito. So it's essentially Italian tacos and burritos.
Okay, but the calzone is way bigger than your standard taco. It's like a semicircle pocket of...
Essentially, a calzone is just a pizza folded in half.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Whereas a stromboli is rectangular and it looks like a burrito.
Yeah.
More of a rolling situation, if you will, as opposed to a folding situation, if you will.
I will not. Cody, he did ask the question, are calzones underrated?
I think that they are rated.
I agree. I think that they're rated also because
I don't think they're underrated.
I think on any given night I would rather have a pizza than a calzone.
But you never hear anybody go, "Oh, calzones are underrated," or you don't even say people, "Oh, calzones suck." Nobody says they suck.
Yeah, I think they're an appropriate
Are they
thing.
undereaten? Maybe.
One thing you have to have with calzones, and you know I'm a huge dip guy, but you have to have dip.
Yeah.
Like you got to have ranch and marinara and garlic butter. You got to have all that.
Which that's the thing. You know my thought process
If
on
it
this.
needs a dip.
If it needs a dip, that means it's not very good.
I agree. I don't think you're appropriately seeing the value of dip in terms of
If
enhancement.
you're talking about a dish,
enhancement.
If you're talking about a meal and you go, oh yeah, this meal is great, but you need it with this dipping sauce, it's like, okay, then the meal's not that great because you need something else to enhance the flavor. You ever had
enhancement is different than
the best
not that
pizza
good.
I've ever had? I never once thought about dipping in ranch because it was a damn good pizza. That's why. Hate me if you will. That's why I think Raising Cane's isn't maybe the best. I love Raising Cane's.
I get what you're saying, but I just disagree with you.
Everyone goes, oh, you got to dip it in the cane sauce. Yeah, well, how about you eat the chicken tenders on their own?
That's not how it works. That's not
They're
how
fine.
life works.
Everyone says, oh, they're the best chicken tenders. They're not the best chicken tenders.
No.
I've had better chicken tenders.
That's not how life
They're
works.
good.
I understand what you're saying, but that's not how life works.
Whatever.
It's not. Because dips are a part of the food eating experience.
I used to make by the way, this hard segue. I used to work at a pizza place. I used to actually, by the way, I made the best pizza in Topeka. It was voted on by Topekans at La Rocca's. I used to make this thing. It was a buffalo chicken calzone, and it was so good. I used to eat it almost every day for lunch. It was fantastic. But I used to dip it with ranch. So maybe
it wasn't that good.
Maybe
How
it
about
wasn't
that?
good.
Tyler, how many Texas Roadhouse rolls can you eat in one sitting? Oh, whoa. I can only eat the rolls. I can't eat the cinnamon butter because the rolls just aren't that good.
Did you go? All right, no, time out.
Yeah,
That's not.
yeah.
No.
Nope. See, that's just, yep. That's me being right. Yeah.
It's not a dip. It's a butter.
Yes, it is.
It's not a dip.
It's the same thing.
It's not a dip. Okay, yeah. No. You take a knife and you go and you spread.
No, you don't.
Did
you
eat?
literally dip it.
So Tyler had talked about this. Did you eat? He did this yesterday. Monday? He went to Texas Roadhouse, and all they ate was rolls, and they brought in a group of guys, 6 people, and they wound up eating
6 guys.
6 guys. They wound up eating 82 Texas Roadhouse rolls.
That's a lot.
Tyler, by the way,
Did you
he
tip?
said that he was the only one who didn't go over double digits, which is embarrassing to say the least. Did you eat it with cinnamon butter? You did. Okay. This is a little bit more filling.
You can't not.
I'm over 25. I'm over 25 for sure.
This is if you're not eating a meal?
If I'm not eating a meal. No, you go in knowing that you're going to eat as many rolls as you want. So you have all day to prep. Or as much as you can.
I mean, I'm definitely going upwards of 20.
Yeah. Tyler got 8.
That's
Was
kind of
8?
weak.
No,
7. Yikes.
My goodness.
So really 5 guys went in, and they ate 65.
Yeah.
So they averaged 13 apiece.
Yeah, there's 5 guys with Tyler cheering them on in the background.
Yes. Occasionally having a nibble.
Do you think...
Did you guys tip?
$65
Okay, that's pretty
a
good.
guy. I mean, that's good. That's fine. I
pretty
think
good.
that's
That's one
okay.
per roll.
Yeah.
$1 per roll.
Well, no, they had 82 rolls.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Do you think you can go over 20?
Yeah.
I think easily.
If I'm hungry, I can go.
There's
over-
no
I can
question.
go over
Like
20.
I'll go over. I'll eat 12.
I have to.
I'll
That's
eat
like
12,
the
and I got a
one-
meal coming.
I mean, it's similar to at Mexican restaurants with chips and salsa, but I have to physically stop myself from eating more of them. You know what I mean?
Same. No,
Like
I
I
know.
can't because I have to like count how many I'm eating, or else I will eat the entire basket
I know.
and another basket and another basket.
I just black out. Like
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like they'll come over and they'll be like, "Hey, before your food, do you want?" I'm like, no. Like
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
do you know? Because I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
I need you,
Right,
the
right.
waiter, to nip this in the bud.
Yeah.
Because I'm
And
gonna.
if you bring more, then I'm gonna eat them, and that's on
you're
you.
gonna have to roll me out of here on a gurney.
Says, what is a good fantasy football team name that is Chiefs specific? I like this because we did talk about Taste Dwayne Bowe, Somewhere Over Dwayne Bowe, some
Yeah,
great names
it's
back in the
good.
day.
I'm R Mason.
Yeah, BM R Mason is a good one.
Good. I mean, Take Mahomes Country Road, classic.
If Mahomes is good, the rest don't matter.
Yeah, that's good. What's one with like
Chilling with Mahomes, chilling with my homies.
like something about like I am worthy, like worthy. I don't know. I think that's good. There's got to be something with Peter Woods that might not.
Rice Baby.
Ooh, come on now.
That's decent.
There you go.
You like that?
Yeah, that's good. Let's see. Curious George.
That's a good
Karloff,
one. Did you just think of that right now?
Yeah, write that down. Okay, well, this is hard. You're putting me on the spot. Let's see. Is there something with Tyquan Thornton? I mean, something with Kelsey, maybe.
I don't know.
Creed Humphrey.
Creed is good.
I bet there's something with like Isapole.
Butt kicker.
Chew Godric. Chew your food.
Majarius's children.
I don't know. We need to do some more thinking about
We
this.
had some decent ones in there, though. Last
Yeah.
one here from Greg. Greg says, will Peter Woods finish the year with more sacks? I almost said snacks. Who do you think will have more snacks this year? Peter
I
Woods
bet
or Chris
it'll
Jones?
be. I bet Chris Jones has way more snacks.
Uh,
He's got more money.
Who has more snacks? Let's see. Peter Woods weighs, because he weighs 310 pounds. You think Jones is over 310? Probably.
Jones is 310.
They're both 310.
Wow.
Okay, so then I think you have absolutely snack-wise, you have to go to the salary.
I agree.
So you're right. Chris Jones will probably eat more snacks because he can afford more snacks.
So it's hard because of let's go with sacks now.
Oh, okay. We can do sacks. That's a good question too.
Yeah, like sacks of snacks.
Right.
Like how many sacks of snacks do you think that they'll finish with? And Chris Jones makes more money, so he has way more resources.
Yes.
He can buy more snacks.
Yes.
How many? So Chris Jones had 7 sacks last year. I almost said snacks.
I mean, I'm not going to say Peter Woods. I'm going to say Chris Jones.
It's hard when you're at that D tackle position. You're not going to get that many sacks, and like Chris Jones is still producing at a very high level.
Right.
Like you're not going to see a J.J. Watt style like type of season from a defensive tackle in the interior, but 7 sacks as an interior defensive lineman is still pretty dang good. Now everything we're hearing out of training camp up at St. Joe is Peter Woods looks like the real deal. And he could be like that one-of-one replacement for Chris Jones whenever he decides to hang him up.
We all, I guess, both of us, were kind of surprisingly happy with the Chiefs draft, honestly.
Yeah.
Like the first couple rounds, because I mean, maybe that's just us Chiefs fans talking ourselves into it, but you trade up, you get Mansour Delane.
Yeah.
You end up with Peter Woods and R. Mason Thomas. I mean, there's things to like about both
Then
those
you get
guys.
Cyrus Allen late. You get Emmett Johnson late. I mean, that was a good draft.
You
by the
picked up
Chiefs.
the Lindenwood legend as well.
Yeah. I think shout out to Jeff Caldwell. I think Peter Woods is going to have 4.5 sacks this year.
Okay.
Which is still good for a rookie defensive tackle.
How many snacks? I mean, you're talking literally
I'm thinking
end of July
yes.
through after the Super Bowl. That is a lot of snacks because my
Give
toddler has like
Yeah.
17 snacks per day.
I'm gonna
and
go
she's
ahead and
3 and
say-
weighs 36 pounds.
I'm going to go ahead and say 874 snacks.
Okay, that's probably low.
I like that
That's
line.
all
You think it's
yeah.
low?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't
So
know.
4.5 sacks.
4.5 sacks. I actually think Chris Jones winds up with 6. I think he gets
Okay.
worse from last year because he's getting older, and I think they're going to maybe. I mean, you're going to see some rotational stuff, but they could be splitting time.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be sitting side by side together because they're going to be running that 4-man front. I think it's 4.5 and 6, and I think it's going to be very close. And I think you're going to see like, okay, well, here's the not predecessor. What's the word I'm looking for? The next in line is Peter Woods.
Successor.
The successor. Yes.
Yes. Well, I like that. 4.5 and 6. You have 874 snacks for Peter Woods. For Chris Jones, snacks wise, give me 916.5.
Love it.
Yeah, he Michael's the last one. All right, after this, Andy Kotelnicki Part 2 on Rock Chalk Sports, ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com.
What's up, everybody? Dan Peterson. Everybody go check out KansasNation.com.
Together, we're elevating our potential, our pride, our traditions, and our dreams. Together, we're opening up a whole new world of possibilities. Elevate your University of Kansas experience with Jayhawk checking from Central Bank. Central Bank and KU, elevating together.
Grass is still growing, and so are the savings at Heinen. Dominate the season with this limited-time offer on the all-star lineup of Ferris zero-turn mowers at Heinen Repair and Heinen Outdoor Power Equipment. Get up to $600 instant rebate on a Ferris zero-turn mower. Flexible financing options available with improved credit. Offer ends August 31st. For details and big savings, see Heinen Repair in Valley Falls and Heinen Outdoor Power Equipment in Lawrence.
With Heinen, there's always hope for your yard. Jayhawk fans, if you haven't started to follow Kansas Nation on social, now is the time. Facebook, Instagram, X, it's Kansas Nation, and online at kansasnation.com for the latest news and information on your Kansas Jayhawks. Interviews, news conferences, daily and weekly shows, podcasts. Find it all at Kansas Nation and kansasnation.com. kansasnation.com is presented by Game Day Men's Health Lawrence. Step up your game with Game Day Men's Health Lawrence.
Welcome back in the Kansas Nation studio for Rock Chalk Sports. Thanks to everybody watching live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and live on kansasnation.com, and all of our listeners over on ESPN Kansas City. All right, let's go back to the Kansas football complex. We heard Andy Kotelnicki a little bit earlier today, and here's KU's associate head coach, part 2 of that presser.
Andy, in the past, you've always used your tight ends wherever you've been. What have you seen from the tight end group?
I tell you what, a lot of parity right now. There's 4 guys that are doing a heck of a job in Bruno, Jalen Butler, Carter Moses, and Leighton Kier. Those 4 guys have got they got some experience, right? And they've played, so it's cool. And it's kind of been fun because they've basically obviously splitting reps. And when you have depth in that room, you really feel like those are pretty unique puzzle pieces that you can put in the field that ask me to do a lot of different things running past. And I'll just say this too. I'm going to talk about the receiver room because we have some guys in the receiver room that I'm really impressed with their physicality as well, and their ability to be big and long and play physical. We don't allow our receivers to play soft here, because we want our guys, they want to be able to play professional football. Well, no one in the NFL, all receivers, the best ones, they got to learn how to block. They got to learn how to get dirty. That's usually how they stay in the league for a long time. And we want to help our guys achieve that goal. So we're not just going to stand over there and only run hitches and routes and then the O-line and tight ends can roll blocking. We want our whole football team involved in the run game, and they've been physical that way.
With Butler, he didn't really get thrown to very much at Old Dominion. When you're evaluating a guy like that, how do you kind of project what he might be as a pass catcher when there just isn't tape?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you go back, you try to look at all the film that you can to it. You talk to your friends, at places that either played with him or maybe even coaching there. And you try to get feedback on, hey, why does or doesn't this guy get more of it? And sometimes the answer is, well, just with what we were doing, it wasn't, he wasn't a focal point because we had these 2 guys that did get the catches, which I understand there's only so many pieces of the pie to go around. So you watch the film, right? And you get references and feedback to see what it is. And then when they show up on camp, I think I said this in the spring, when they show up right away, you can just see how they can move and groove and catch.
What's the communication process like between you, Coach Z, Coach Leipold, about what all 3 of you maybe are seeing from the quarterbacks when you're trying to evaluate them? Well,
and then you have, the other dynamic. There's, Coach Flip has done a great job in that room with us too, who joined us in the summer. It's just collaborating and getting the same page about what it is and why. And again, it goes back to kind of what we talked about the players. The first thing you should do if you are watching a snap and you're unsure of what the quarterback did is simply go to him and ask him, what did you see? And allow him to give you what he says. Now, if he starts giving you some bullshit, you got to call him on it. Well, I did this and this, he did that. Well, you saw all that in 1 second. You know what I mean, right? And so that's part of the growth that maybe quarterbacks, especially young ones who just showed up on campus, need to have. So it's about, are his eyes in the right spot where we want him? Is he making the proper decision? And is he executing the throw? And that's kind of what you're evaluating all the time when you see those guys. And so there's collaboration and communication all the time. You sit there and watch film and go, hey, Jim, what did he say when he threw this? He said he saw the safety, he thought got off the hash, and it was far enough to be able to slip it in there. Said, okay, good. Now he knows that it's not far enough off the hash, right? So much of that is about them messing it up right? That's life, right? Like everyone on our football team has messed it up before they did it right. And it's about giving them enough opportunities that they're going to go out there and mess it up so they can grow and evolve from that mistake.
Trey Lathan said that you guys run some formations that he thought were illegal.
Yeah.
So confusing. How much of that is in now? How much do you still have to put in?
Oh, those things aren't very expensive, right? When I say that, I mean like your return on your time invested into getting guys lined up, it's not that expensive. So there's a ton of variables to line people up, and I don't know. I by the time we get playing the season, there'll be more formations that I haven't even thought about yet that we're probably going to line up in, right? But that's okay. That's part of what we do. That's part of our commitment to putting stress on the defense before a ball is snapped, right? To make them have to do that and figure out how to cover everyone down and what gaps to play. That's an advantage, for us as an offense, that we need to own that time, that period of time between when one play ends and the next one begins. We have to own that as an offense. And I think that's a trend you see in all of football now.
I know we've asked you this in years past, but what are kind of your influence as a play caller right now? Like, what are some things you're looking to for inspiration?
Well, I always watch the most explosive offenses. I always watch, people who maybe we feel like from a personnel standpoint are similar, right? So like you have athletic quarterbacks, right? So who in the NFL is doing things with athletic quarterbacks that are cool? Who in college football is doing things? It would start there. And then we have a great staff. So like we have we got guys who are diverse, have been in so many different places, which I love, and we collaborate. And one of the advantages of having those people is, hey, I did this, or I was part of this back in 2020, and this is something that we did with this guy. Oh, okay, and then you find the film and you can watch it, and you kind of figure out, do we need to evolve with that? So it becomes a collaboration. But there's no individual that I'm like, oh man, I really got to go watch whoever, But there's a ton of guys out there that I respect and how they do it. Just when you watch film and crossover film, how to do it.
Along those same lines, you got a lot of KU football fans who remember what it was like, what it looked like when you were here the first time. Would you be able to tell them that they'll recognize what you're going to look like this year offensively, or do you think it'll be different? I know you have different personnel, but what would you say to those people that are wondering that?
Well, if I was going to give you a completely honest answer, okay, which I will. Why not? Right, Daniel? Is he nervous right now? Most of them don't know what the hell they're looking at. Okay, that's the truth, right? Most people don't. That's okay. That's fine, right? That's the awesome thing about football is you don't need to know what the hell you're looking at, but it's entertaining as hell to watch. Like I went to a World Cup game. I don't know shit about soccer, but I could tell you the moments when, oh, here it comes. Oh, it's a miss. You know what I mean? There was the one, and then 20 minutes later, another one happened, right? So they what I hope that they see, right, is that we're explosive. You know what I mean? I hope that they see that we play disciplined football, right? And I hope that they see that we play a physical brand of football, right? The nuances of where guys line up and who's on the field and all those kind of things, they don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll pretend to know, but they don't know, right? How to get it, how to get, this guy lined up on that spot and he runs this. Like the people don't know. They'd be probably really surprised at how simple but complex it can be for our players to learn that. Goes back to the first question about, how do you teach and how do you evaluate, you know what I mean, and what you're going. But you know what I mean? The thing that makes people excited about football are exactly what I said is you don't need to know, but you can tell the layman, the idiot can just tell, hey, that's good football, right? That's good football, right? Or the idiot can say, that's bad ball, right? Like we can see that. And I just want them to go, that's good football. And so that brand, that's what we want to play. We want to play good football. And so even if they've never watched a game of football in their life, I would like them to be able to go, oh, that must have been good, right? Like, the Colombian people have adopted me, by the way, because I was at the Colombian game, right, for the World Cup game. So if any of those people who don't watch football, they show up, I'd like them to be able to say, hey, that's good football.
Anything else for Coach K?
When you got back here, what did you think of the stadium? What was your first reaction when you walked in?
Well, I'll tell you, when I came back here, so and I can't remember if I said this in the spring, I was, whatever, they popped me up over at the Oriad, and me and my guy Leap were holding that thing down. And I walked down from the Oria because I didn't have a car. And so I walked down, and I'm like, well, I can't get from the Oria to here unless I got to walk all around the construction site. So I do that. And Billy Bonneau in our recruit department was one of the only guys in the building that day because portal was about to open. And he opens the door, the side door, right back there in that corner. So from the practice field, you with me? Mm-hmm. Okay, and I walk in, and then some of that in that corner kind of looks familiar, but then we start walking, and I see the meeting rooms. And none of those were there, okay? And I could see the construction, right? Because when I showed up, there was a rubble. And then they took me through all of this, and then they took me up through into the suites and where the seating is now for everything. And I came back, I told Lance, the lobby, I go, Lance, this is a top 10 facility. I go, this is an awesome place. If I'm a fan, like I want to buy a suite. I mean, how cool to be on a Saturday afternoon drinking beers, and they don't let you smoke cigars up there, but like, you know what I mean? Eating corn chips or whatever you like, you know what I mean? M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, right? David Lawrence, right? So like we're up like I'm like, this is an awesome place to like watch college football. So that was my impression. I go, there's no excuses, right? Now that you have that. The reality is that's been a huge wart in this place for decades, for generations. Most of us don't even know what it really should have looked like. You know what I mean? So decades ago, they should have been doing this. And thankfully, Travis and the admin and the president and Lance have been able to get that moving, and the great people of Kansas and whoever else is involved with that, right? But like, it was really impressive. It really, and it still is. I think when I was just driving this morning, they're getting that other side done with the lights, and they got all the lights on. I go, damn, this is cool, man. It looks like a giant spaceship in the middle of town, and it's like, this is gonna be neat. The thing's gonna be rocking.
I know you were busy. Did you ever take a peek at the construction as it was going?
Well, I'll tell you what I thought when I was away,
Yeah.
because I would, communicate with people here in Lance and stay in touch, and they're telling me all the things that they had to do, and I'm like, guys, that sounds like it really sucks.
Yeah, right.
Like they did not have meeting rooms, they didn't have a place to eat. They're eating in trailers, right? They everything was so temporary, everything was so in flux, and you can't measure the emotional, physical, intellectual energy it takes to operate a program that way. And now we're coming. So I came back. I was gone like 2 years when it was crazy, right? I just don't even want to think about it. And then we come back, and now we have a real training table for fall camp. You know what I mean? Like our guys are really eating. You know what I mean? The way that they should. We got real deal employees in there that are cooking, and like when that side gets done and we get access to the turf in the stadium in a couple weeks here. It's cool. It's really cool. Anything else?
Thank you.
Go ahead, ask one. Give it to me.
Coach, you mentioned before that you referenced a lot that you're a teacher. How do you kind of marriage the idea of teaching, educating these guys in camp while also balancing the competition, these guys fighting for snaps and roster spots going into the season?
That's a great question, and it is a challenge. So how do you go about developing everybody, right? How do we raise all the ships in the harbor, right? Okay, but still making sure that our big dog ships, they're getting better as well, right? So the first thing is I say it's really easy. It's low-hanging fruit as a teacher to teach entry-level football to the guys who just showed up. And as teachers, a lot of times that's what that we want to gravitate towards the easy path. So I give a lot of attention goes to those guys. Okay, but the reality is we have to get our best players better. So someone brought up Cam's name before, and Cam's played a lot of football, right? Okay, so what are we going to do as coaches to make sure that Cam Pickett still gets better? And we're coaching him to evolve his life and career as a football player, as well as getting the guy who literally just showed up here, getting him out of lineup and formations. So being intentional about, hey, those are different curriculums. So let's create a different curriculum, which is what we do. Now, to get back to your question about what do we do when there's competition involved here? Well, this ain't the Make-A-Wish Division I football program, right? So we tell them that it's the real thing. So we are going to make decisions about who plays, when, and how much based off of the good of Kansas football. And feelings get hurt sometimes. That's it. But that's part of being on a team. You know what I mean? Not everyone gets to be the superstar, right? That's what it is. But it doesn't mean you're not a valuable member of our football team. So you keep it real with them. You keep it real with them, and you try to keep it as objective as possible. And say, if you want to play, you got to be able to do this, this, and this better. And sometimes when they're young, especially, it can be very general of like, the kid just needs to get bigger, faster, stronger. He's not physically even close to ready yet. Okay? Have that conversation. But it has to happen, and we give a lot of feedback to our players during this program, so they're constantly hearing that kind of stuff, right, about what to improve on and why, and what they're doing good, and how we do it. But that's a really good question. Okay, guys, appreciate your time.
That's part two, a very entertaining press conference earlier today of Andy Kotelnicki, KU's offensive coordinator and associate head coach. We're going to hear from KU director of conditioning, strength and conditioning, sports performance, whatever it is. He's had a variety of different titles throughout his time here at KU. Matt Gildersleeve on tomorrow's show. After this, though, we're looking at the Cincinnati Bengals. You okay?
Yeah, you know me. I like to play with my ring.
Kansas City Chiefs opponent outlook segment next. ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Closing things down here on Rock Chalk Sports, ESPN Kansas City, KansasNation.com. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks as well to behind the camera crew today, Elijah Schmidt and Tyler Brewer. All right, it's time for our Kansas City Chiefs opponent outlook segment. We've reached week 14 of the NFL season as we take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Chiefs will head up to Paycor Stadium to take on Joe Burrow and company. The Bengals, as usual, I think have a lot of optimism around the Cincinnati area, I guess, if you will, because they've got a stellar quarterback and they've got maybe the best wide receiver in the game. Plus 2,000 to win the Super Bowl are the Bengals, coming off some trying years. And as we talked about earlier in the show, Dan, probably a hot seat type year for Zach Taylor, who seems to be getting another life after another life because of the Super Bowl appearance in 2021 and because everybody knows that they've dealt with a lot of injuries.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. When you look at this, you go, okay, well, yeah, they have a very good core of skill position players, right? I mean, they have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both on the outside. Both of those guys are very, very good wide receivers. You could say Jamar Chase is a top 2 wide receiver in the NFL right now, and T. Higgins, top 10 wide receiver in the NFL right now. Andre Yoshivas also is continuing to impress as that number 3 spot. Chase Brown, I do like him as that RB1. They also have Samaje Perine, who broke some records here at Kansas. Don't want to talk about that. But, I mean, if Joe Burrow is able to stay healthy, if you remember what Joe Burrow did last year, he only played in 8 games. They had to bring in Joe Flacco for 9 games. And, both of them had okay seasons. Obviously, Flacco's getting a little bit longer in the tooth, but if Joe Burrow's able to stay healthy and get the ball to these guys, including Mike Gesicki, who's their tight end, I think this is going to be an okay season for them. But their defense is just absolutely terrible, and they wound up losing Trey Hendrickson, was really their only serviceable guy from last year who was a bright spot on their defense. Now, they did bring in Dexter Lawrence from the Giants, who I really like at that D tackle position, but in terms of the edge rush, they have Boye Mafe and Miles Murphy. Never heard of them. Shamar Stewart is there. I know he's been dealing with some injury. There's a lot of upside for him, but we haven't really seen him out there on the field yet. Their defense looks really, really thin to me, and I think that's really where the Chiefs are going to be able to take the most advantage. And this is where the young guys are in. Most notably the young guys, but also the veterans are going to start to understand and build that chemistry on the offensive side of the ball and take advantage of what they can on the Cincinnati defense. This game is going to be a very high-scoring game because I think the Bengals are going to score a lot of touchdowns and the Chiefs are going to score a lot of touchdowns, and that's what it's going to be like for every single game with the Cincinnati Bengals. They're just all offense, no defense whatsoever. But if the Chiefs' defense can hold up, I think they'll be okay in this game.
The Bengals, each of the last 3 seasons, have missed the playoffs. They finished 3rd in the NFC North last year at 6-11, 9-8 both in 2024 and 2023. Of course, 2021, the Bengals actually were 10-7, but they would go on to beat the Chiefs in overtime. If you remember, at Arrowhead, so they advanced to the Super Bowl, lost 23-20. To the Rams, and they're thinking, okay, we've got the momentum going. And then 2022, they did have that momentum, but this time the Chiefs got them at Arrowhead, 23-20 after a 12-4 season for Joe Burrow and company. And they were 12-4 back in 2015. But when I was growing up, and historically, this hasn't been a very good franchise. So the Bengals have been craving winning. They finally have their quarterback. They've got the talent on the offensive side. Like you talked about, Chase Brown potentially could be a top 10 running back, I think, in addition to all those other guys. But from a Chiefs standpoint, this is the 3rd of 3 straight road games in a row. We've talked about that this week, but you've got at Bills, at Rams, at Bengals. That's very tough. Then you come home, the opponent doesn't necessarily get easier, but it's going to be really tough. And again, the Chiefs are going to have to bank some wins in the early portion of the season, I would say. So this will be tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to win the games you're supposed to win. You got to have some where you pull out on the road. And, this is going to be a game that the Chiefs certainly have to go in and win when, like you said, they've been starved for success for such a long time.
Yeah, they're going to have to grit it out. Hey, we're going to have more Rock Chalk Sports the next couple days, of course. More coverage of KU football fall camp. camp. We'll talk more Chiefs as well. Shout out to Elijah Schmidt and Tyler Brewer behind the cameras today. For Dan Courtwright, Sean Kellerman saying we'll catch you tomorrow from 4 to 6. Rock Chalk Sports right here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com.